YouTube needs to sort this out. When you go live on Instagram, you go live straight away, don't you? When you go live on
Well, it does
Zoom,
take quite a
you
while
go
for
live
people
straight
to
away.
come.
When you go live on stream, you get the idea. Melanie Morrison, been watching Nadia and Mark since March 2020. You poor thing, you probably need psychiatric help. I hope we haven't driven you mad. Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to Coffee Moaning.
Of course, yeah, because through the day, so many people join Coffee Moaning afterwards. But our little
Huge
live
number.
lot, we love seeing you every day. So welcome. Now, if this is your first time to Coffee Moaning, we do Coffee Moaning 6 days a week. It's our best TV show not on TV. We get told this all the time by people, so we've got to make a strapline for that somewhere.
Put it across your
So
forehead.
we talk about the news stories, not in the same way that the news does. You know, we really do sit down sometimes and go, do you know what? I know it's a big story, but we're going to scare a lot of people with that. We don't need that.
Someone just said a lot of cheery topics today. There are some quite fun ones in here. Angry in public isn't serious.
Yeah, it's
Big
silly.
time. Well, sharks is pretty serious. AI kissing and TikTok filter, there's always a serious aspect to everything, I suppose.
Yeah.
But you know, there we go.
We both in the mood to have a bit of fun as well today.
Can I just say hello to Veronica File? P-F-E-I-L. I've not seen your name before. Good morning, Veronica File. And also,
morning, Veronica.
on behalf of our dear friend Tori, I want to make you aware that today is Rare Disease Awareness Day, an often overlooked sort of day of increasing awareness and the profile of families, people, parents with children and relatives who have rare diseases. So obviously it's a catch-all for many different conditions. But if you go online, there's a hashtag on Instagram. Go and check it out.
And Tori's one of our very loyal supporters. We'd on this channel and a great person.
An absolutely astonishing mother.
Astonishing mother, like mind-blowing.
Yeah.
And her beautiful son has a very, very rare condition. And then she has 2 little ones as well. And she looks after all 3 of them. I just don't know how you do it, Tori. So, yes, nodding to the day and massively to the parents, you and your husband and so many others, of the enormous amount of hard work that goes on, and we know very much your story through the pandemic, Tori, and so many others that shared it through here, and just not having that support and stuff. So a good day to just go, just do a little prayer.
Feel the love.
Feel the love.
All our love, Tori. So unique, I think, excuse me, so unique, I think it's your birthday, is that all right? Just saw happy birthday.
Oh, we'll sing you happy birthday at the end.
Oh, there we go. It's my 40th birthday today, and my twin who watches too, Fee and Hayley. We'd love a special 40th. Okay, so Fee and Hayley. I don't know how to pronounce, spell it. I always think it's just H-A-L-E-Y. Oh, guys. Where are we? So, just to give you context, we're a little bit late. And this kind of feeds into one of our stories. I sat here getting smaller and smaller in my seat as Nadia gradually, like a coiled spring, got angrier and angrier with someone who sounded like an incredibly patronizing, mansplaining doctor.
Oh my God.
That's why we're a little bit late.
My GP is absolutely lovely, and most of them are. But I had one today that I'd never had before. So, cut a long story short.
Oh, no, don't. We don't like it when you cut a long story short.
So I have been...
Make a short story long.
I've been paying for my HRT ever since I first got my HRT. And then somebody said to me, why are you paying for it? You know, you've paid all your national insurance and all that. I thought, yeah, why am I? Anyway, so a few months ago, I changed over to my GP, spoke to a lovely woman. She prescribed me my estrogen. I still pay for my testosterone because of this insane country that doesn't allow women to have the third hormone that they need. And anyway, so I hadn't got a repeat prescription. So I rang up so the doctor rang me, and he rang me half an hour before. He said he was going to as well, which is annoying. And he was like, okay, so yes, what is it? And I said, I thought there was a repeat prescription, just need a repeat prescription, da-dee-da-dee-da. And he said, okay, well, do you know the risks of HRT? I said, yes, I do.
I was over there, and can I just say, at that point, when I heard her saying, repeat the question, when a woman repeats the question, you know you're in trouble. So when I heard you say, do I know the risks of HRT, I ducked over there onto the floor.
I said,
I was like, oh, shit.
I didn't say, look, I've
you know who you're
spoken about
talking to?
HRT on the telly, I do lives, I've spoken to so many different menopause specialists, and I just said, yes, I know the risk of HRT. And you know what he said? He said, go on, tell me. Oh my God, I'm still shaking inside, right? So then I'm a bit flummoxed. So I'm thinking, I said, well, I know the risk, but a lot of the risks that I'm told, I don't actually believe because it was based on very shaky research. Anyway, she said, tell me them. So I start to tell him the risks. And as I'm telling him the risks, I don't even believe in the risks. He's telling me. So I said, well, one of the risks could be clots, but it's very small and it's, only if you take the pill, not if you take the pack. Anyway, he just kept asking me more questions.
Can I just say an interesting observation about this? And this is where inherent sexism creeps in.
Oh, he was so patronising.
When do doctors or anyone in the medical establishment ever flag up the risks of medication when they're trying to flog you stuff? When they're trying to get you to take stuff? Why is that the only time I've ever heard a doctor want to flag up and run through all the risks of a medication that clearly the NHS don't want to
But you know the other thing? I was so angry because of the way that he was talking to me. I started to get muddled. I mean, I know all this stuff about HRT. And so then he was like, so what happens to you if you come off HRT? I said, I don't know.
Something not too dissimilar to the way this phone call's going.
He said, well, why are you on it? I said, I'm a 58-year-old woman. And Mark was
making my coffee.
Because I've answered all these things. The more questions he asked me, the more questions he asked me. And then what point did I flip?
Well, you did say to him at one point, look, I don't even think doctors are taught about HRT.
No, I didn't say that. But I said, do you know what, actually? I said, I am really cross with the way that you're talking to me. You're really patronising. I said only 40% of medical schools actually teach anything to doctors about HRT.
Did you verify that statistic?
It's true. It's everywhere.
There you go.
And he went, and I went, and then what did I say to him? How did I finish it? I said, I'm just not prepared to do this anymore. I feel like I'm having some sort of exam.
Interrogation was the word you used.
Interrogation. I said, I'll tell you what. Is that what I said?
Yeah, it's all emblazoned on my mind. Because
And I said, but you know what I was also carrying inside me?
Huge bag.
All of the messages that I've read from women that have been treated like this. I was like, that's where I lost my shit. Because it was like, how many messages have I had, Mark, over the last couple of years? I would say it runs into thousands of women saying, oh, they've just told me that I shouldn't have it and because of this and because of that. So I was like fighting for everybody in that minute. I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to forward to you all the emails from my private doctor that I've saved the NHS. God knows how much money. I'm going to send you all her letters explaining why I was put on it and my bloods and everything. And he said, yes, do that. And I said, can you give me the email? Because trying to email to your doctor is impossible. Do you know what he said to me? Ask reception. Which means now I've got to get back on the phone for another bloody hour waiting to get through to reception.
Is this the short story long or the long story short? Naomi Proverb says, I've had a male doctor like that before. Can I just make a suggestion that actually, and I'm not being pejorative in this, in a sense, what you've experienced is what the vast majority of people experience at the end of the NHS, right?
Not vast.
Well, no,
most people, our doctors, every other doctor I've dealt with at that surgery has been lovely.
Yeah,
it was that one doctor.
No, but I mean, a few people here are saying, well, that's exactly how it is. I
am going to complain about him. I'm going to say, don't ever, because that's the other thing. He talked like this. He was mumbling, so I couldn't hear anything he said. And then I said to him, sorry, what's your name? Well, I'm Dr. As you asked for. I said, no, I don't know him. I've never
Did he
asked.
show any sort of softening? Did he sort of at any point
No, he was patronising and rude. He was horrible.
Right, and when you said interrogation, did he sort of stop or?
He just, you could tell. If I was looking at him, he would have been going like this.
Maybe he's got an incredibly menopausal wife and he was sort of taking it out on you.
I'll tell you what, he got incredibly menopausal now. Don't light my fire. I've been nice. Now you're making me angry.
Okay, well, this seamlessly leads us to our first story of being angry in public. Though that was angry in private. This is the story of Aubrey Plaza.
Well, it's public now because I've told all of them.
Yeah, true. Aubrey Plaza at the Screen Actors Guild Awards, actress in the series White Lotus,
which everybody loves. We haven't taken.
I've always wanted to go back to it, and you haven't. 38-year-old actress. She got on stage when they won an award, and she's kind of gone sort of viral-ish because of what looked like a sort of temper tantrum, her losing her temper on stage.
1 second, because I just want to seriously ask you a question. Why do we have to know she's 38? Now, I know you were probably reading it from the paper, but if that was a man who'd lost his shit a bit on thing, they wouldn't have said his
I disagree.
I
disagree. In most articles, the age of men and women, I would disagree, is often published. Is often published.
I think there's a suggestion there she was perimenopausal.
Oh my God, Jesus, babe, have you got your HRT?
I'm on no, and I'm not going to bloody. I bet he won't let me have any now.
Okay, so Aubrey Plaza apparently lost her shit. Lots of people saw the footage. There's several. You have to go online. I was going to kick up StreamYard, but I couldn't. She looked cross, but there were a couple of things that could have happened. One of the co-stars told her that she was about to have a dress accident. So her boob was going to pop out, which would have been embarrassing, I guess.
Bit of a Judy Finnegan.
A bit of a Judy Finnegan. Someone else suggested that she nearly got elbowed in the face as what looked like most of the men muscling their way to the front to accept the award. I mean, I hasten to add, she was photographed much later at a party, hugging all the sort of members of the crew, and F. Murray Abraham, who actually nicked a role from your dad, I don't know if you remember, was giving a speech and all that kind of stuff.
A bread roll. I was thinking of Dad at the buffet.
No, he didn't nick a bread roll. He nicked a roll in a, oh my God, what's the name of the bloody director? What's the name of the director who did the French Dispatch? Wes Anderson. Wes Anderson. He was going to be in a Wes Anderson.
Oh, yeah, he was.
So she was told that her boob was hanging out, which could cause any woman a problem. She was almost elbowed in the face, and her reaction was a direct response from that. She was visibly annoyed. Some people saying she mouthed Jesus Christ or fuck it or something.
I love her.
So we thought public losses of anger. Where have you lost your temper in public? Have you ever been angry in public?
God, in my drinking days when I was younger, we used to have fights. Well, not physical fights, but we'd have rows.
Yeah.
Something would just kick off a bit. Some girl is like getting off with one of your mates' fella, and it would all kick off, but never physical.
It's really interesting.
I really just no.
It's really interesting what you said earlier. I mean, I do everything I can to avoid a public display of anger. I had a situation.
Good ship lollipop's a lover, not a fighter.
I had a situation at the weekend where I went into a local shop and I saw another guy going into the local shop, and I saw that he was kind of, harassing in a low-level way, but it's all based upon the person receiving the harassment, isn't it? A woman who'd gone into the shop, and I went into the shop, the woman left, and then behind me he started to sort of try and lure me into a provocation by saying certain things. I sighed. Just sighing became a provocation, and I turned round and
did he want to have a fight with you?
He was spoiling for a fight,
no,
and I
really
turned round. But he was doing it in such a way that if I completely ignored him, something would have kicked off.
This is like what the girls say.
And this is the real difficulty. So I turned around and said, "Don't come in and provoke everyone. I'm leaving now, and be kind to the people in the shop." Because they had...
Jesus Christ, you're lucky he came back alive.
And he started shouting some other abuse. It was a bit high, I think. And then I moved off. But it left me furious. I was so angry when I got back into the car. But I rarely lose my shit in public. I can't think of any occasion where I was...
Lee had a similar situation to me. Sorry, I lost it in Boots last week because the lady kept asking, have you taken this medication before? Yes, you ask every freaking week. A Frog said she lost it recently. Was that A Frog? You live in a beautiful part of the country and just saw somebody throwing rubbish. Actually, that can make me really cross. The other thing that can make me really cross, somebody being really awful to a child.
Mm. But would you get angry with them?
Dina, I was a bit scared in Asda's last week when that woman tried to push Dina into the freezer.
Right.
I mean, Dina will kick off. Dina will kick off.
Dina will eat your heart out with a spoon.
Dina will not take shit. But, living where we live, if you don't go out a bit like... And I'm kind of spoilt because I get picked up, don't I? And I get taken into work. I'm a bit of a spoilt. spoilt like that. So I'm not like, you know, out there like my sister is, just like, you know, God, she has, from the minute we get in the car to the minute we get out of the car, she's in battle. And then we were in Asda's, and this woman just shoved her, like literally shoved her into the freezer.
Right, okay.
And I was like, oh my God, because I was filming, turned the camera off because I thought it was going to kick off.
Wow.
Never physical, I will say, but she will say, what the, who do you think you are pushing me into the freezer? Whereas I wouldn't do that. I would always avoid that sort of confrontation.
I think the thing that's often triggered me most when I'm out, and I think I've shared it before, you know, when I interrupted a guy being abusive to his girlfriend, is whenever I see aggressive male or sexist male behaviour when I'm out, because of course I immediately transpose onto the situation with my daughters, and then I get really, really intolerant. But I really can't think of even a moment where I've lost my temper with you in public. I mean, I know
you do, but you would under your breath, whereas I'll just go batshit crazy.
Well, yeah, but you tend to, what Nadia does, and I don't know if this is the case with any other women here, please share if this does happen. What happens is Nadia gets angry, we have a row. We kind of find a sort of peace. We get to a place, we get to a sort of little stepping stone of peace. And then what happens is you start to talk about it again and get yourself angry again without anything being said. And when Nads gets angry, she has zero control over her volume button. I mean, like zero. And I will say, look, can you just... And
I've
if
got
you
a voice
say
made
that,
for the back
no,
of the
no,
brand
no,
circle,
but as soon as I say, just for me, talk a bit more quietly, you can be angry, you just get louder. And louder.
No, when I do lose my I do lose my temper. I mean, not so often these days, but when I do, God, and you, God, when you lose your temper, you shout. But he doesn't in public, and you don't really. We calm down a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, as Zoe said, they're drunken dramas. They're the worst for losing your temper, aren't they?
I mean, I remember one instance where I was out drinking. It was a leaving do from somewhere, and an incredibly provocative couple of guys got angry with us. It transpired afterwards simply because we were sitting at a table and there were some pretty women. I mean, this is kind of out of the arc, isn't it? And they became really provocative. But my mate, do you remember Heath? Who got
Edward.
Do you remember Heath, who got married at our wedding? He met his wife at our wedding, cameraman. We all kind of got spilled out onto the street, and I was furious with this guy who kind of wrecked the night, and it was getting into virtual fisticuffs and all that. Heath he was giant, he was like 7 foot. He picked the man up and threw him through the window.
Oh, what? That's terrible.
No, I know, but this was a real public display of anger. And then, of course, the police were... I mean, it was, you know, I didn't do it. And Heath ran. I mean, he just ran. So, you know, public displays of anger, it's usually drink-related. Yeah, I mean, the problem in London is... and I think this is a problem in London. In cars, I always have a public display of anger, don't I? I think in cars, it's where I'm the worst. But in London, I mean, other cities too, you are literally taking your life into your own hands if you lose your temper. I was in a no-win situation the other night in the shop, in a no-win, because if I'd ignored, it was going to escalate. I had to put something down that said, I'm not, you know, I wasn't a walkover. And I know you always say, don't rise to it, but sometimes you have to put something in place. It's really difficult to judge
isn't it? And I mean, our girls say to us, you know, like sometimes when they're out and like a guy will come up and they'll say like, oh, yeah, you look nice, you're pretty, and they said if you don't respond, they will just get angry. So you're just constantly trying, this is city life, guys. For any of you that don't live in the city, like you're just constantly trying to balance what's the right amount. Can't look too weak, can't ignore them, can't get angry. It's you have to
have a suit of armour, but you also have to have flexibility to kind of not look like you've got too much attitude. It's a bloody nightmare. Anyway, Aubrey Plaza, I think that's all right. Getting cross
love
there.
her.
I think she was nearly elbowed in the face by a co-star. And she's like,
38.
Get out of my face.
And she's 38.
Yeah. Okay. Other stories. In the headline, this just struck me as a dramatic story. Anyone here struggling with have you struggled with A&E in recent months?
Oh God, I did last year with my dad. 10 hours.
Yeah.
Wasn't it? 10 hours. And I was really scared to leave.
Can I just give the context?
Yeah, sorry, darling. Sorry.
So this story is the Royal College of Emergency Medicine sought a freedom of information sort of update from the NHS because they wanted to assess A&E waiting times. And they found that potentially around 23,000 excess deaths occurred last year in 2022, and they linked them to A&E waiting times. Which I don't know, when I read that, I was like, wow. Because
linked.
That's almost a third of the number of deaths that we were in a sort of understandably hysterical state with around COVID. You know what I mean? When we hit 60,000. And isn't it weird that this story just floats through the news flow without the same level of kind of, wow, 23,000 excess deaths due to A&E waiting lists. Now,
due to A&E waiting lists.
no, not
waiting
waiting
times.
Waiting times.
Right. Oh, sorry. Okay. Well, you know
Waiting
what?
longer than 12 hours.
And I wanted to ask you guys this. Do you think we've just become completely desensitized? I mean, I don't live like if I go out and about, you know, if I'm going out with friends or I go to work, every single time I see people, somebody will tell a terrible story will come up about the NHS or about A&E, and I just wonder if, as a nation, oh well, yeah, that's it. That's the NHS. I feel like we've almost given up. Like you swap stories. Like somebody will tell something, you go, God, yeah, that happened. Yeah, 3 days. And I worry that we've just got total acceptance now that this is the quality of our care and we are utterly powerless to do anything about it and we've got to put up with it.
Well, we are powerless. I mean, and I think it's really important to remind ourselves this is precisely why, I know it seems counterintuitive, but this is precisely why the A&E staff, emergency services staff are protesting. It's not just about a pay dispute. It's also about the fact that they are so stretched.
The management.
That, you know, like for A&E staff, on a daily basis, they're witnessing how their work condition and the system's condition, if you like, is putting people at risk. So yes, it's a kind of Faustian pact where they have to say, let's take a day off and protest and draw attention to this in order to try and trigger some kind of improvement. So I think it's really important always with these striking, you know, yes, there's the personal, yes, there's the pay grade, yes, there's that on a sort of personal level. But unless you make these jobs more desirable, you're not going to have people doing it.
And that's it. And people say we can't give the level of care that, well, what is that saying in the NHS about the level of care? Excellent, something. And they just can't give it. And the same with the ambulance drivers. I mean, what ambulance driver joined the service to sit outside a hospital for hours and hours and hours with somebody that's suffering? Natasha there.
Yeah, just let me read out some of these. I was in A&E for 14 hours 2 years ago. Billy May Ruffle, Good Chip Lollipop broke her collarbone. Didn't have anyone to sit with the kids, so didn't go in. The Country Pumpkin,
So
I had food poisoning and got given Imodium and sent home, later hospitalised.
Imodium for food poisoning?
Gracio D, we went in recently with my mother-in-law and was 7 hours waiting. My 3-year-old did so well.
Yeah, last year I was with my dad for 10 hours and honestly, you know, my dad's nearly 90 and it was just so upsetting just watching him and also thinking of people of that age that go in without anyone to sit with them, to get them a drink, just
Natasha
awful.
Tilmos, my friend who had a C-section 3 days ago, was sent to A&E with her newborn as the baby was jaundiced. She was made to sit there for 5 hours after major abdominal surgery with a 3-day-old.
Natasha. Oh my God.
Amanda Roach, I feel the main problem with A&E is the lack of respect for the point of A&E when they're recently with my son who had broken his leg, the amount of people arriving feeling poorly for more than 3 days. Sophie Clementshire, my uncle and auntie are paramedics and sometimes spend most of their shift sitting outside with patients.
No, I know. This is just the awful thing. So we have to support this strike because it's not just about them wanting money. It's about them trying to be a better service to us. And so often when you talk to nurses, or they will say, we've got so many managers that are just excess to what we need. And we've been hearing that for years and years and years. Why? We've been hearing about a drain of money at the NHS where it's badly placed. Why can't anything be done about that? I mean, just today there was somebody on the radio saying that they wanted their father could leave, but he needed to stay there until they could get the medication from the pharmacy. So they had said, let us pick up his medication and let one of us take him home to free up the bed. And they said, no, we can't do that. I mean,
there's a weird there are lots of administrative quirks, aren't there?
Administrative quirks. And you know, all this business now with Sadiq Khan adding on this extra, this extra tax.
ULIS, is it?
ULIS. So more care workers are going to have to leave the industry, which means there's going to be more, I hate the phrase, bed blocking, because elderly people can't come out and be looked after. And we all know this stuff. And why can't these things be changed? Why can't they be able, why can't care workers be exempt from this new tax?
Yeah, I don't know.
Which they say is definitely going to be another drain on the system.
Absolutely. So anyway, I think you're right. I think there's an immunity that creeps in. It's a little bit like the Ukraine thing. And, I mean, sometimes it's like, is it wrong that you become immune to this? Then in another sense, I think there's a very valid reason why people do, because as you say, there's a helplessness. It's like, what can we do about it? So you do naturally turn your eyes away from those headlines.
But we mustn't. It's really important that we don't.
No, absolutely. Another story that has been sort of bubbling along in the background. We haven't really
sad.
touched this. This is the Constance Martin and Mark Gordon. This is the aristocrat who essentially went missing or on the run with her partner, who himself was done for a sexual offence. I think it was done for rape at the age of 14 and actually served something like 20 years.
Did it?
I think it's quite a bit.
So they met in 2016 and they went missing about 5 months ago, didn't they? And I don't know if you remember, it was about 4 weeks ago or so.
Yeah, he spent 20 years in prison in the US. Yeah.
Oh my God.
He committed the crime, rape at the age of 14.
So her father, just to put that on, her father
Napier Martin
read out, didn't he, this amazing open letter to her, begging her to return or to just at least hand their child back to the family so that the family could... Why did they go on the run?
I don't really understand. Oh, but I think that it's estrangement from her father. I mean, he said, even though we remain estranged at the moment, I stand by as I have always done and the family has always done to do whatever is necessary for your safe return to us. I mean, clearly there was some conflict in the family.
But it wasn't
rebelled.
it wasn't like a breaking of the law and they went on the run.
I don't think it was a breaking of the law. I just think they went missing. But she was pregnant. She had the baby in public, and at the point in a sort of public space, and at the point that she had the baby, then suddenly they were in a sort of very dangerous missing people thing. I know that they were seen sort of in a tent. They were camping.
Yeah.
This was all during the coldest weather.
They've been camping.
They think she gave birth in a car.
And they've been like masking their face so they couldn't be picked up on CCTV. But they broke down on the motorway. That's how they've been caught. But the thing is, there's no sign of baby.
Missing. The baby's missing.
The baby's missing.
So investigators are worried, clearly, because the temperatures of it, the baby's been exposed to sub-zero temperatures, and they're extremely concerned.
I just wonder, what has gone on between these two people? I mean, is this a case of some kind of coercive control and he's kidnapped her and they've gone on the run? I mean, served 20 years in prison. Has he groomed her?
Yeah.
I mean, this is a really sad story. And I mean, I only found out about it a few months ago when I heard the father reading out that. Honestly, search for it and listen to him. It's just beautiful letter, just so from the heart of a father just desperate for his grandchild to be safe.
And it's important to stress that,
sad.
The father talking about estrangement, the causes of estrangement can work both ways down the kind of generation. It doesn't necessarily mean that he's been a bad dad. It doesn't mean... But it could mean that she's just turned her back on him.
But it doesn't mean that he's been a great... We don't know. We don't know what could have gone on. We just literally, either side, we are going to find out more, obviously. But at the moment, from how it looks,
Doesn't look at all good for the baby. Very brief story. But this is a story in Argentina where a man who went missing, weirdly, he was in a vehicle, which they found on the beach. So either the vehicle kind of got caught out by sudden water, or the vehicle fell into the sea or something anyway. I mean,
or he just got out of the vehicle and went for a swim.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe, I guess so. Fishermen caught 3 sharks, were they blue sharks? And they found in one of the sharks' stomachs the remains of the man, and they identified him because one of the parts of his body had a tattoo that they recognised. Diego Barria, a 32-year-old father of 3, has been found in school sharks in the sort of essentially the gut of a school shark. It's just like bloody hell. They're checking the DNA to identify him, but it's just a reminder, isn't it? Sharks. I think the other problem with all these animals, it's like polar bears.
Sharks.
No, but the problem, I think this is all directly connected to global warming because, of course, more and more animals reach into human sort of areas because they're becoming hungrier and hungrier due to pollution and global warming. So, for example, there's an increasing number of polar bear attacks on people. They're coming further down into kind of less icy weather because they simply can't survive up on the sort of melting ice pack. So, you know, and like grizzly bears in America, I mean, obviously there's the Cocaine Bear film, but, you know, I've done a film about grizzly bears that they're called habituated, where they come wandering down like shoppers into communities and just go through your bins.
There's been quite a few in Cornwall, hasn't there?
Bears?
No, sharks.
I was going to say, bloody hell.
I mean, that seems to be on the increase. Am I imagining that?
Well,
which is
global warming.
disastrous for Cornwall. I mean, if Cornwall without their tourism, that's going to be massive, isn't it?
Okay, this is a curious one. I'm just aware we're running out of time. A Chinese inventor has found a solution to long distance relationships. And I want to know if any of you would use this. He's created a kissing machine that you attach to your phone. You and your partner attach to each end of your phone. So, I don't know, you're in, I don't know, Marbella with K, and you fancy giving me a kiss, and you've got a pair of lips on your phone.
Oh, I'm going to Marbella. Okay.
Yeah, you put lips on your phone, a sort of, you know, this sort of strange device.
Oh.
You do a kiss into it, and you make noises, if you were to make noises.
Make a kissing noise.
It's not like the ones on Love Island, slap, slap. And then at the other end, you receive the kiss as however you've kissed it, the thing will kiss you in the way that your partner kissed you.
For the love of God.
Would you use that, guys?
No. For a laugh, hilarious, yes, let's have a jolly joke with the pretend kisser, but not in any way. Seriously.
Right.
Would you?
It looks like Freddy Krueger's tongue in the phone. A couple of observers in China, or people on their own social media, have said it's a shame it doesn't include tongues.
Oh, we just had an advert, they said, in the middle of the live. Everyone keeps saying it.
That's weird.
Really? How weird. That's not supposed to happen.
I didn't even know that could happen.
YouTube.
Thank you for letting us know. So yeah, I mean, I suppose the other underlying thing about this is the extent to which relationships, love and intimacy is becoming sort of, you know, being pushed into the realm of, sort of technology and AI and this idea of avatars. I do wonder, you know, when you look at some of these sci-fi films from the past, you think, is our entire sort of life going to become a sort of, you know, avatar-like existence where, you know, we're distanced from everything? But one Chinese...
That's so weird. Some people did get an ad and other people didn't, and it was a full ad.
That's so bizarre.
So we'll find out about that.
We'll ask Michelle.
Yeah.
Michelle, we'll ask you. So yeah. Would you use it?
No. Only for a laugh.
For a laugh.
And let's do this TikTok.
It looks deeply suspicious, if you
go.
ask me. And so, there's a new app on TikTok called Bold Glamour. And this seems to be causing quite a stir because unlike any other sort of, what do you call them? Sort of facial, what do they call them? What is it, where they change your face? There's a word, isn't it? A face filter, a sort of facial filter.
No, I know what you mean.
There is a word. It's filters, they're filters. The airbrush filter, the difference with this is it's so comprehensive that even when you put your hand in front of your face it chisels your jaw, it smooths your skin, and when you do that, whereas most sort of, you know, apps or filters kind of, they glitch, don't they? And suddenly your real face comes through and you're like, oh God, look at that. This doesn't. And again, this has kicked off a lot of people going, oh my God, this is going to contribute to mental health, low self-esteem and body dysmorphia. And I wanted to ask, how many of you use these facial filter apps? Facetune. Does anyone...
Face tuning, thank you, that's what you were looking for.
Do any of you use face tuning? You don't.
What's quite good is that our girls do often say, oh, it's catfishing. They'll say that. So with the facial filters, I think there is a beginning within younger people of starting to say this, you know, of a backlash on it.
Yeah.
But I think many people are really vulnerable to it. I really do. I mean, like the other day, I put on a Paris filter. Looked so awful, but I put on my story, I have used a Paris filter because I look like shit.
Right.
And I remember I was very late to filters. And the first time I ever put a filter, it was like, was it that baby one? And oh my God. Because I'd missed the boat on all of it and I had it very late. God, what was I, 55? And I tried one and it was like, oh my God, that is so gorgeous. I just look like I've wanted to look all my life, just smooth and I just immediately went, oh my God, that's so dangerous. But I'm 55. If you're really young, or you're really struggling, it's very seductive. And you might look at it and go, well, how can people just do that? You'd be amazed, Mark. It's very...
Well, I can see why people would become addicted. I mean, one of the weird things about the new iteration of iPhones and stuff like that is they clearly have a bleaching out inbuilt filter.
This makes us look better than we are. Because I always say that to Mark. I know we still look shit, but I said, with these new phones, I said, oh my God, what has this phone done? Because it does it. It really does bleach
Vicky
you
Waiton
out.
says you're not 55 now.
No, I was 55 when I tried it.
Oh, I see, right.
Yeah.
I've used the Snapchat ones before once and it doesn't even look like me, says Emma.
Yeah, I mean, I think this jaw thing is ridiculous. Everyone looks like an alien. I don't think it's particularly lovely.
Well, the vast majority of you wouldn't use a face filter, so there we go. It can only add to the universal dysmorphia.
Exactly,
Dawn. Yeah, absolutely right. Okay.
Got to do a birthday.
Oh, yeah. Do you want to quickly do so unique? But this is for Fee and Hayley. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Fee and Hayley. And Hayley.
And Hayley. Oh, because they're twin sisters. Let me start again. I hadn't, darling, you didn't say
I did.
it.
I showed you it. No, it's all right. Don't worry, darling.
I'm going to start again.
Just
Happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you, happy birthday, dear Fee and Hayley. Happy birthday to you.
Anyway,
so
guys,
unique?
That is so unique.
Oh, I see. Oh, and that's your twin sister.
Yeah.
Lots of love.
Guys, if you haven't watched it, go and check our home time that landed last night.